My review of the Byrds album, Byrdmaniax. It was released in 1971 and produced by Terry Melcher and Chris Henshaw. So I would have got this album after I got Untitled. I don't remember exactly how long, but it would have probably been like a month or so. Like it would have been a while, because this one, I remember I got it on CD first, but I had to buy a used copy. It took me a while to feel like spending money on a used copy, because I think it was a little bit more than like some of the other ones when like Amazon had it in stock. I could kind of tell that this and Farther Along were definitely the ones that people don't like, because they were the only ones that I had a hard time like getting CD copies of back then. So yeah, this album, probably, I feel like the most hated album of the Byrds, other than like maybe the reunion album. Typically, I definitely see a lot of hate for this, not just from like fans, but also the band. Really didn't like the production of this. Gene Parsons has called it Melcher's Folly, because Melcher added a bunch of strings and orchestration and like other instruments and stuff to the album after the band had finished their recording parts. I guess they were kind of recording this while they were under a pretty like heavy tour schedule, so they were kind of having trouble just in the studio, and they weren't like putting the most, I guess, or as much effort into it as they maybe should have. At least that's kind of like the story that I've heard. As far as the album itself goes, I've never really gotten the hate for it. I listened to it expecting to not hear a good album, and I was kind of really surprised. I mean, I've always liked it. It's always been an album that I've listened to quite a bit. As far as the production goes, I think that the production kind of benefits the album. I don't know if I would like it as much without the production. I think that like it is kind of hard to hear some of the guitar parts in particular. I think on the album, I feel like the drums and bass are pretty audible, even with all the extra stuff that Melcher added. But like the guitars, they kind of blend in a little bit. And I've heard, read somewhere where Melcher said he wasn't getting like the guitar parts that he needed. So like if the guitar parts aren't there, then the orchestration definitely like probably helps the songs a little bit. But at the same time, it's kind of like you don't get to hear as much Clarence White as usual, which isn't great. But I really love the sound of the album. I think it works for all the songs. So yeah, I'm a fan of the production on it. I think it sounds pretty good throughout. With Glory Glory, it's a cover sung by McGuinn. I think it's a strong opening track. It's got this like really kind of fast piano going on in the beginning of it. I've heard kind of mixed things about, but I really like it. I think it kind of adds something to the song. I really like the song though. I like McGuinn's vocal. I love when like the drums kick in. I really like Gene Parsons' playing on like this whole album, and he's which is kind of funny because he's like really not a fan of this album, but I think he plays really good on it. And it's also like reading the Rogan book, the Byrds Timeless Flight or whatever. I think around the time of this album, it kind of like pops up that Melcher's saying he's not like a fan of Batten and Parsons playing, and kind of would like to replace them with session guys. And which is, I find kind of weird that like this is the album where that comes up, because he's been working with Parsons for like 2 albums before this, and he worked with Batten for a whole album before this. So it's kind of weird around this time is when he's like, oh, I want to replace him. Or I mean, maybe he did before, but that's when the book brings it up. But anyway, so I guess that kind of shows too that like things weren't all happy during the recording of this. The second track, Pale Blue, sung by McGuinn and Gene Parsons, and I think it's another really strong song. It's kind of just pretty ballad. It's catchy. Got a really good vocal from McGuinn on it. I think that the orchestration really works well on this song. It's got some really nice harmonic on it, which I think is probably Gene Parsons. But yeah, I think the orchestration just really works great on this song. Third track, I Trust by McGuinn. This song kind of, I think, based on McGuinn's like personal catchphrase, and it's a good track. I think it's catchy. I like the band's playing on it really well. The extra instruments I think work well. Just another really solid track. So this album, I feel like it starts off and has like 3 good songs, and then the middle is where it gets kind of more questionable, and then there's like 3 tracks at the end. So it's like the album kind of sandwiches like the strong songs on the ends, and then you got puts the strong songs on the ends, and then you have kind of the weaker songs sandwiched in the middle, is the way I feel about this album. The 4th track, Tunnel of Love, is a Bat and Foley track, and this one has always been my least favorite on the album. It's the longest song on here. It's really just kind of boring. Like, I don't feel like it's horrible or anything, but the lyrics, I guess, are kind of the most interesting thing about it. But I'm not a huge fan of Skip Batten's vocal on this one. I kind of find his voice a little more hit and miss than the other guys in the band. And this track, I'm not really a fan of the delivery. But it's not horrible. It's just not the best thing on here. It's got some pretty cool drumming though. The 5th track, Citizen Kane, this is another Bat and Foley song, and this one I actually find to be kind of a highlight of the album, even though it's, I guess, sort of a novelty song. I think it's got, I don't know, it's catchy. I like the extra like instruments that they added into it to give it this kind of like ragtime sound. I actually like Batten's vocal on this song. I think it works well with the lyrics and stuff. I like the lyrics on it. I think they're amusing. And it's got this really cool, like these really cool like lead licks that kind of come out. I can't remember exactly what the lyrics are where they like where he plays it, but just some really cool like little lead bits, probably from Clarence. So yeah, I really like that track. The 6th track, I Want to Grow Up to Be a Politician. This one is McGuinn and Jacques Levy song for their Gene Trip musical. Kind of the most like lightweight of the songs from that project, I think, but I don't know, it kind of, I guess maybe putting it in Citizen Kane here kind of would give people like too many of the novelty songs in a row, and I think that kind of contributes to this album's weak reputation to a degree. But I don't know, I've always liked it. It's kind of a silly song, but the instrumentation stuff is cool, it's catchy. McGuinn's vocal's good. So yeah, overall, pretty good song, even though it's kind of a lightweight song. The 7th track, Absolute Happiness, this is another Bat and Foley song. I like this one a lot more than Tunnel of Love, whereas that one, like, I would usually, that one's more like a skip for me if I'm like driving around or something. This one, I'd be less likely to do that, depending on like how much time, if I had time to listen to more of the album or not. It's got some nice guitar. Maybe they should have let like McGuinn or Parsons sing it, because it's still not my favorite Skip band, or another one of like Skip's vocals that aren't my favorite on this album. But yeah, not a bad song overall. The 8th track, Green Apple Quickstep, kind of a cool bluegrass instrumental by Clarence White and Gene Parsons. I think that Gene Parsons complained that it has like kind of too much going on in it. There's some harmonica being played by Clarence White's dad on it, which is pretty cool. But then it's also got this fiddle in it that I think Terry Melcher added. But I don't know, there's a lot of stuff going on in it, but it's a really cool little instrumental, and it really is pretty short. The 9th track, My Destiny, cover song sung by Clarence. This one I've always liked a lot. I'm a big fan of Clarence White's vocals. I think he's got a really cool voice. So I've always really liked this one because he sings it, and I think it's a catchy song. Kind of slower. Might not be most people sing, but I like it a lot. 10th track, Kathleen's Song, is another song by Roger McGuinn and Jock Levy. And this song's tied for my favorite on the album. And I've just always really liked it. I really love the orchestration on this track. Another one where I just think the production of the album really works. There's a different version of this on Untitled, on the bonus stuff for the CD, without the orchestration, and that one I don't like nearly as well as this version. And I think most people kind of prefer that version, but this is like the definitive version for me. And I really like McGuinn's vocal on this too a lot more than the other version here. I think he sounds great. Yeah, it's just a really cool song. It's got this part that like the lyrics are like when only the owls something, and that part of the song just like always gives me goosebumps. Just a really cool song. 11th track, Jamaica Say You Will, Jackson Browne song, sung by Clarence White, and this is my other favorite on the album. Kind of can't pick between these last two really, which one I like more. Another one, I like the orchestration on here. I think I've heard that Clarence didn't because I think it like kind of made his singing a little flat or something, but I like his vocal on here. I think it sounds good. And yeah, just another really, really good song. I really like Gene Parsons' drumming on this track as well. Just a real highlight to close the album. The CD version has 3 bonus tracks. Just Like a Woman, Bob Dylan cover with a good McGuinn vocal on it, and this, like, to me, this song, if they had this like lying around, I don't know why they put Tunnel of Love on there, because this would have been like so much better than Tunnel of Love. Then there's an alternate version of Pale Blue, which is nice, and I Think I'm Gonna Feel Better, which is a Gene Clark song, and this one's sung by Clarence, and this is like, I feel like not the best vocal take that he could have done for it. It's pretty much the only Clarence song that he sings with the Byrds where I'm not like crazy about the vocal. I think that maybe he should have had another at it. But pretty catchy song. I just kind of wish they had like had him maybe redo the vocal on it or something, get like a better take. So yeah, Byrds, Byrdmaniax. I mean, I can see why this is one of their less popular albums. It definitely kind of lags in the middle a little bit compared to On the Ends, but I mean, I don't really count like Citizen Kane and I Want to Grow Up to Be a Politician being kind of like novelty-ish against it really, because I enjoy both of those. I've heard Tunnel of Love kind of called a novelty song, which I don't really get that, but I mean, it is kind of not a great song, so there's that. But everything else on here, I mean, everything on here but Tunnel of Love I really enjoy. So to me, it's a really good album, minus like one track. And even though the band themselves didn't like the production, and I think Melcher kind of later said that the orchestration was a mistake, I like it, and I like the way it works. I think that it's more successful on some songs than it is on others. Well, no, I don't even know if I'd say that. I think it works pretty evenly on like everything it's used on. I mean, I think that at its best on here, it's kind of reminiscent of the orchestration used on the song Easy Rider on that album. So, yeah, it doesn't really bother me at all that that's on here. So, yeah, just in my opinion, very underrated Byrds album.